So Maria is Beyonce. I am Britney Spears. Hello, everyone. Thank you. So three notes before I begin my presentation about USLAF membership. I'm excited to hear everyone wants to be a part. I'll maybe work with Olga on one big email to everyone to give you instructions how to become a member. Two, I didn't know, Adriana, that my dissertation was in that ethnic category on CA's website. And considering how much of Donald Judd and minimalism and Marfa are my dissertation, there's some interesting one-drop things happening there. And finally, it's just, I'm so grateful to be in this room with so many elders who I've known through your work for years, and through so many ways in this last year at this job has been incredible for bringing me face to face with them. Amalia Mesa Baines' an excerpt from Domesticana opens my dissertation. Chan's on page 2, I think, and yeah, many of you are in there so deeply. So now, me in the role of my job, which is amazing. Okay, so I am the Latino collection specialist at the Archives of American Art. I've been there, it's been a year as of July. The Archives of American Art is a unit of the Smithsonian. It was founded in 1954 in Detroit, moved shortly after to Washington, D.C. We also have an office in New York. We are the largest collection of primary source documents dedicated to telling the story of American art. We collect things that I frame as closing the distance between everyday people, Americans, and the artwork that they see on the walls in museums. So we collect documents like personal correspondence. Many letters from many of you probably don't know are there. Photographs of installations, sketchbooks, diaries, all kinds of ephemera that doesn't really fit a category. And we are available to researchers who come to us every day and work in our reading room. We have a staff of about 40. It's really a team effort. I'm sort of the front lines who goes out and gets the stuff. There's a great team who organizes, digitizes, writes finding aids, directs everything. It's incredible. So that's the broad framework of the archives themselves, what I've been doing. These are the acquisitions of personal papers that I've made in the last year myself. While you take in these names, check them out, I want to give a few remarks about the fact that I did not come in cold to the archives. This is my position is the first wholly dedicated staff position to this ongoing Latino collecting initiative. However, since the Willful Neglect Report in 1994, the Archives has undergone a number of initiatives overseen by our Deputy Director, Liza Kerwin, who's here, either directly collecting herself or overseeing kind of contractors, scholars that come in and out, like Carrie Cordova at UTexas, Juan Martinez at Florida International. Probably people in this room have worked on this project. I'm sorry if I'm not saying your name. Raise your hand. I see your names a lot. I'm very grateful. These initiatives have focused on Southern Florida, Texas. California's kind of always ongoing presence. We have a strong collecting program there always. So we've gotten a number of papers from those initiatives, but really I came into a beautiful collection of oral histories. So that's the other thing we do besides collecting papers is collecting oral histories, which is a scholar sitting down with someone, a veteran arts person in the US for often 8 to 12 hours over a couple of days. And the first question is when and where were you born? And then you get to the present day and you have a wonderful capsule story of a personal art history. So it's really fantastic. One of the great anchor collections that we have is the Tomás Ibarra-Frausto papers, his research material on Chicano art. It's a great thing to have those. It makes an attractive place for many Latino artists to put their papers because really these papers all speak to one another. It's a really strong network, and the more we add, the more kind of context for every document, every letter, every photograph exists. I'm just taking in the names again. One of the things that I'm really proud of that's happened this year is when I first started, my first thought was I'm going to go to Texas and start collecting because that's where I'm from, that's where my research is based, to play to my strengths. Eduardo Diaz, the director of the Smithsonian Latino Center, is El Jefe of all Latinos at the Smithsonian, said, no, you're going to go to New York first and talk to the Dominicans. Okay, so that's what I did. And from that amazing, even though there were those initiatives that focused on Puerto Ricans, Cubanos in Florida, Chicanos in Texas and California, there was no Dominican presence in the archives before. Now we have 5 solid collections of Dominican artist papers. I'm really, yes. Thank you, Dominicans. I think the willingness of everyone to donate their papers has been shocking, not only to me, but to the rest of the archive staff as well. It just really shows that there was a hunger to get this done, because these papers are part of that pipeline that Adriana's discussed, that Rose has discussed, that we've all discussed, that includes mentors and professors and students. But it also requires that there's something for them to study once they get in these positions, and to cite and to reference. So that's what these resources are, the primary documents that will be utilized to tell these stories in scholarly publications. Exhibitions, we do loan out documents for exhibitions, please know that. Yes, as long as your site conditions are good. Yes, so it's an excellent thing. So to think about, finally, what's my time? I don't know where my timer is. I have 4 minutes? That's awesome. Wow, I went through that really fast. So besides having these papers, it's really my priority that these papers are utilized, that they're not only preserved, which is, of course, important, but that they're activated. This is really why we do this. So how do we activate those? If you can't already tell, I think I have the coolest job in the world. That comes with the responsibility of feeling like I have to share that, and I'm very happy to. So me and the other collectors, there are a team of 4 of us at a time typically, who collect all over the country, have had this discussion about, okay, how do we share this experience that we get to have, this very particular one-of-a-kind experience in the actual collecting process, when I get to go sit in the home with a veteran artist, curator, art historian, hear all these wonderful stories, because when you sit with a box of someone's 20-year-old documents and go through them, I mean, the chisme that comes out is like incredible. Half of that chisme will never cross my lips again, but the other half is often very important and very significant in telling the story of art, of American art, of Latino art. So how do we share that? The documents are there, but how do we share this really particular kind of conversation that we as collectors get to have? So we've come up with a couple of ideas. One is Archive Live. We've done this one time with the artist Paul Ramirez Jonas. He's based here in Brooklyn, his family's from Honduras. Wonderful artist. So what we did, Paul came down this was a collaboration with Mary Savig, my colleague who curates, who oversees our exhibition space in DC. Paul sent down a box that I had not seen, a box of papers, and I left it sealed. Then we met in the gallery at noon. We didn't just meet, it was, an advertised event. We didn't show up. In the gallery at noon on a Friday, and he brought the box. We put it on a table. Paul and I sat. People actually showed up, which was great. And we opened it right there in front of everyone and began to go through the papers. That led to a really incredible, rich conversation. And I felt really successfully did that thing of sharing with a larger audience this experience of story receiving that we, the collectors, get to have. So great, so we want to do it again with everyone, with all kinds of papers in all kinds of places. Yes, and then on the left, a program that hasn't happened. This is an idea. So the hypothesis behind this idea is based on the fact that in the 60s and 70s, probably in large part thanks to Ford, so many grassroots organizations were established to address the lacks of spaces and representation of marginalized communities. The most robust of those grassroots organizations exist still, as a testament to their robustness 40, 50 years later. But the people who founded them, who gave their lives, dedicated their lives to growing these organizations, like Judy Baca, I'll say her name since it's already here, we'll see, yes. With her organization Spark, are now at the point where they're trying to figure out, okay, who's going to take over from here? What will happen to this lifetime of work in this institution that it's been dedicated to? Who's the person, and how do I transfer knowledge? So it's my hypothesis that if we lock them in a room together for a few months or a few weeks and they go through these papers together, that is a good way to transmit leadership and knowledge of a grassroots organization. So it's an idea, and this idea came about in conversation with Judy Baca about the Great Wall Institute, which she would like to found as a separate organization from SPARC dedicated solely to the legacy of the Great Wall mural and the ongoing production of the Great Wall mural. So we can play the video quickly. It's very short. This is just to give you a sense of the kind of spaces, the kind of materials we translate to our archive spaces that you saw on the first slide. This is the room at SPARC in Venice where the Great Wall materials are currently held. And this is just what a meeting looks like. Thank you, Judy, for letting me show this. So yeah, those are the papers that will get the job done, and also with your support, we'll get it done. So thank you.